The evening getting underway.
Well, we have more people than any other day. The mood is quite serious as opposed to the last few days when it was quite festive, celebrating. Today it's serious and determined, and the amount, I've seen people who've come for the first time today. A lot of people have come for the first time today. I think the television interview last night with Wael Ghanem, the Google guy in Egypt, in the Middle East, has changed a lot of.
So you believe that Wael Ghanem has reinvigorated this movement? Do you see him as being a potential leader for it?
No, there are no leaders, and that's what's beautiful about it, and I think it will stay that way. We're not looking for leaders. We don't want leaders. There will be no leader.
Okay.
And I think they need to get that through their heads. There is no leader, and that's the way it's going to stay.
Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking to us there live from Tahrir Square in Cairo, Sharif Barai, as the evening prayers get underway there. Huda Hamid is still with us, our correspondent there overlooking Tahrir Square. Huda, give us, we're seeing the pictures obviously, but give us a sense of the atmosphere, the mood out there.
Well, at the moment there is the sunset prayer, the fourth prayer of the day for Muslims, and I would say that 1/3 of the square is actually praying, and that's a moment where actually all the slogans and the chantings stop. But if you're asking me if there's still many people on the square, I have to tell you yes, it is quite full, even though it's soon going to be night here in Cairo, but the square is still fully packed. We did hear that Wael Ghanem, the Google executive that was released last night, did come to the square. He did stay about 10 minutes and then he left, so he did not have the speech that was expected that he was going to give the people here. From what we understand, he is trying not to emerge as the only leader of this protest, as long as he hasn't spoken to the other movements, the other people who, along with him, made all this happen.
All right, thank you very much, Huda. We'll leave it there for now. Huda Hamid, one of our correspondents there overlooking Tahrir Square. We'll leave you with pictures from Liberation Hall Tahrir Square, which again has become the epicenter of these anti-Mubarak demonstrations. We're keeping a close eye, of course, on the events in Egypt. My colleague David Foster will be with you in just a few minutes at the top of the hour with more news from Egypt. Right now, let's listen in and take in these images from Tahrir Square.
Hello, once again, really struggling to shrug off winter across a good part of the United States. This weather system just around the eastern seaboard, that's the weekend snowfall now making its way away into eastern areas of Canada. Another big bulge of cloud coming down across the central and indeed southern plains. More snow to come for Texas then. A top temperature on Wednesday. Bone-chilling -4 Celsius. Cold enough further north though, -14 there for Chicago. Should get above freezing in DC at around 3 degrees Celsius, but still a fair amount of cloud here. Crisp and sunny for New York with a top temperature of around -2 Celsius. We have bright skies across the western side of the states, 22 Celsius there for LA, but north of the border, western parts of Canada could see some wintry flurries over the next day or so. Come south into the Caribbean, and I think we should see some reasonably dry weather into the greater Antilles. Lesser Antilles, we'll see some sharp showers and a chance of some showers too just around Nicaragua, maybe into Costa Rica as well. But for a good part of Central America, it should be fine, dry and sunny. Fine, dry and sunny too across central and southern parts of Europe. Some lovely sunshine here. We have some wintry weather persisting across those eastern areas. -1 there for Moscow. Over towards the northwest, it's wet and windy, but at least it's mild.
Be thrilled by the speed. Be delighted by the tastes. Be inspired by the sights. And enjoy the hospitality. The Muscat Festival. It's here, January 27th to February 24th.
Qatar Tourism Authority invites you to the 8th Doha Jewellery and Watches Exhibition from the 15th to the 20th of February 2011 at the Doha Exhibition Centre. Sponsored by Qatar National Bank and Qatar Airways.
It is in the details, a look, a connection, the moments that reveal the truth. Witness documentaries to open your eyes. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Hundreds of thousands continue their protests across Egypt despite government plans, it says, to bring in reforms. Hello, 1600 hours GMT, 6 o'clock in the evening in Cairo. I'm David Foster. You're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha with continuing extensive coverage of the crisis in Egypt. Looking at nighttime scenes from Cairo's Liberation Square. Thousands of protesters still camped out, ignoring the vice president, who's been revealing what he describes as a roadmap for change.
The president signed a presidential decree for the formation of a constitutional committee to carry out necessary amendments.
Fighting extradition, Assange lawyer accuses Swedish prosecutors of committing serious irregularities. And a Chechen rebel leader claims responsibility for the Moscow airport bombing and threatens Russia with a year of tears. Well, thousands of demonstrators are still pouring into Tahrir Square, that's Liberation Square in Cairo, demanding that the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak steps down. In the last couple of hours, the vice president of the country, Omar Suleiman, has appeared on television promising what he called constitutional reforms, and he says guaranteeing immunity from prosecution for the protesters. Al Jazeera's Alan Fisher reports.
They called for a show of strength, a huge turnout, and they got it. Thousands rallied to the cause in Liberation Square. The message is clear. They'll stay here as long as President Mubarak stays in office.
The army units are there right in front of the gate. We're not trying to break into the gate or anything. We're just protesting there peacefully, and they're negotiating with some of us to leave, but we're refusing to.
They gathered just a short time after the president revealed a roadmap for change. But this was reform, not resignation. He set up 3 committees. The first will look at constitutional reform, what needs to be done and when. The second will investigate the violence against anti-Mubarak protesters. And the third is aimed at getting as many people together as possible to discuss the country's future.
Today, the president signed a presidential decree for the formation of the Constitutional Committee to carry out necessary amendments to the Constitution and the parallel legislative amendments. He also instructed the Prime Minister to form the steering committee to follow up with the precise implementation of the agreements reached by the parties to the national dialogue, and a third fact-finding committee on the incidents and clashes of Wednesday last, and to refer the outcomes to the chief prosecutor to take necessary actions.
40 prominent figures have written to Egypt's Prosecutor General asking him to investigate the Mubarak's family wealth. Some estimates say the president has as much as $60 million in foreign bank accounts.
We are asking the Prosecutor General to verify if these news are true or not. If it is true, then he must proceed and ask them to give their statements, and then they go to court, and then they should be punished.
They're also demonstrating again in Alexandria, where thousands have turned out in the centre of Egypt's second biggest city. As Cairo and the rest of the country slowly adapt to the new normal, there was a feeling among demonstrators momentum was being lost the moment to remove the president had gone. He has survived the initial storm, but thousands believe he can still be blown from office. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's get live to our correspondent, Huda Abdelhamid, who's overlooking Tahrir Square. And while everybody, I'm sure, agrees that what's happening down there is still pretty extraordinary, there is a certain monotony now to the fact that the people are simply standing there and talking and cheering, and nothing seems to change. In a sense, what is new?
Well, what is new, I think, for the organizers of all this, the original pro-democracy